The head is on the right side, right? Just go to the north here. Chica? Chica? Which side is your north, Chica? North is that side. Ready? Close it up. Pass it adjacent to my one. Yeah, just bring it, reverse it right up to here. Just move that out, Shavi. Okay, just bring it adjacent. Sorry. Move it away from the Avi. Take that out from me.
Can you not go back so you're in line with the red carpet?
Walking.
Put our hands together and let's pray. Om. 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 Satyam bruyat priyam bruyatna bruyat satyam priyam priyam cha nanityam bruyat ese dharma sanatana. Om Tvameva mata cha pita tvameva tvameva bandhuscha sakha tvameva tvameva vidya dravinam tvameva tvameva sarvam mam deva deva. Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Dhyana Moolam Guru Murti Puja Moolam Guru Padam Mantra Moolam Guru Vakyam Muksha Moolam Guru Kripa Muksha Moolam Siva Nandaya Kripa. Om Shantira 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 Om.
Namaste everyone. Namaste and welcome. Welcome to everyone who's here present with us, and also those who are streaming in live via Zoom from all around the country. Welcome and Prem Namaste to all of you on what is clearly a very sad and somber occasion. The funeral service of Ishwar Singh, and as many people knew him as I.D. Singh, and as I fondly knew him and will always know him as Ishwar. And it feels a bit strange being an MC at Ishwar's funeral, because he was the MC, as many of you know, the customary MC, the go-to MC for so many of our family functions. And he did a splendid job at that. He was a giant of a man in our family. He was a pillar of strength, of support, of wisdom, not only to his immediate family, but to all of us, his extended family as well. And to lose someone as big a personality and a person like that is a void that's very difficult. It's almost you'll never fill it. At the same time that it's a extremely sad and somber event, it is also a time to pause and to look back at a life that was very well led. Everyone who knows Ishipapa will know that he was meticulous in his dress. His house was meticulous, also thanks to the help of Shantapa. Everything about him was meticulous, including his character. He led a very principled, high morals life, with taking lots of people as part of his mentorship. He had lots of time and patience for children, and children loved him back as well. So he was a big man, a man that was big in our family, one that we will sorely miss. But at the same time, we must celebrate the life that he led and the example that he gave us. With that, we have a few speakers today that will share some stories and what Ishipapa meant to them. And I'd like to first call upon someone who was very fond and had a very close relationship with Ishipapa, his first cousin, Shalini Singh.
not die happy when your time comes, but you must die satisfied, for you have lived a life well, from beginning to end. Saturday, the 26th of September, 1942, 78 years ago, 10 months and 21 days ago, and befittingly under the Chinese star sign of a horse, Mr. and Mrs. Deosook Singh was gifted with a beautiful baby boy, one of a family of 5 brothers and 2 sisters, and the grandson of a very proud and doting grandparents, Mr. and Mrs. Kanay Singh of 50 Hope Street, Overport. This baby boy, with his mischievous smile, very quickly stole the hearts of everyone that cast their eyes on him, and grew up to be a man of all seasons. And they call him Ishwar, or Ishwar, as he is fondly known. Namaste Panditji, elders of the family, dear families and friends. I feel honored and privileged today to present a tribute in celebrating the life of our Ishwar. A man of all seasons, Ishwar, as a steadfast son, brother, husband, father, grandfather, and uncle. He was not always there for good times, but always stood at your side in times of challenge and controversy. This is an ultimate measure of a fine man. It might be fitting to say that it is not the length of life, but the depth of life that matters. A man of all seasons, Ishwar, an accomplished scholar, author, historian, teacher, and mentor. A famous Japanese proverb says, better than 1,000 days of diligent study is one day with a great teacher, and no other epitomizes this part better than Ishwar. Ishwar was a man that was ahead of his time for his generation. He had the foresight to develop thousands of lives, directly leading the education fraternity with his astute teaching methods, both in the private and public sectors, shaping the educational curriculum post the release of Nelson Mandela, and writing the history books of our country over the last 60 or so years. His goal was not to live forever, but his goal was to create something that will. A man of all seasons, Ishwar as a friend, a confidant, a disciplinarian, a man who set the bar for us to follow, a man who was highly respected and who had a personal interest in the lives of each family member, with personality, with a great sense of presence and charm. It is said that a truly good wife is the most precious treasure a man can find. Ishwar was truly blessed, but I think it was my fault, and I had part to play in this, because Ishwar met Shanta Bhabi one fateful day when he took me to drop me off at school. And as they say, the rest was history. Shanta Bhabi, Ishwar adored you. On behalf of the Singh family, I would like to thank you for being the supportive, loving, and caring wife for Ishwar for almost 5 decades. For everyone who knows Ishwar, you would know that Ishwar likes a good party. Family and friends. We lost Ishwar on the 15th of August. It was Diri's 88th birthday on this day. Ishwar knew that his family was in heaven having a party for Diri's 88th birthday, and that's why he chose to leave us on that particular day. Ishwar, today we salute you for all that you were, and all that you are, and all that you will be to us. We as a family are losing a star, but the heavens are gaining an angel. In closing, family and friends, our loved ones never leave us until we've forgotten them. Always remember that goodbyes are only for those who love with their eyes, because for those who love with their hearts and their souls, there is no such thing as separation. Take care.
Comes over. You want us to come over this way? What's your plan? What's your plan for him? Is it water there? Is it water? Just wash his hands. Wash that hand. Put your towel on the other side. Just wash his hands. Om Apudvasa Vavastanga Topivayatmakapundikshaktam Sa Avanta Shishi. Put water in his hand like this, right hand. So it over you. Om Idam Ishwari Namaha, second one. Om Idam Narayana Namaha, third one. Om Idam Madhavaya Namaha. Take the two rings from there. Two rings. Put it on right hand ring finger, left hand ring finger. Put it on for that. Take this nice handful of till roll. Put it in Dad's right hand. Place it in his hand like this. So put some water this time. One drop of water. Om Vishnu the Vishnu the Vishnu. Om Namo Paramatmani Shri Pradana Prashotmase Vishnu Agye Pravat Manasye Adya Shri Brahmano Vitkitade Sisvet Varakalpe Vaishwat Manvantare Ashtavime Satitame Yuge Kali Yuge Kali Pratam Sarne Jumbo Dipo Dipan Gote Deshi Africa Kande KwaZulu Natal Prante Slanga Nagre place known Zinga, Shetre, Amuk Tityo, Dashmi Tityo, Amuk Vase, Mangal Vase, Amuk Mase, Shravan Mase, Amuk Pakshe, Shukal Pakshe, Shukal Smriti Purnakta, Phal Prapti Kamna, Amuk Gotra Panno, Kaship Gotra Se, Namni, all of you will take your names. Adya Amuk Gotra Se, Preta Se, Nam Se, Pretava, Nirmata, Uttam Loke, Prapt Atam, Udha, Vadai Am Karikshye. Pick up the first pinda. Pick up the first pinda with the kus and the tulsi at the bottom. Pick all together, place it in your hand. Hold it in your hand. I will put some water on top of that. On top of the pinda. Om Adya Amuka Gotra Se, Amuka Preta Se, Kaship Gotra Se, Amuka Nam Se, Shwadnam Se, Nitastane, Savanimito, Brahm Devta, Va Esata Pind, Maya Diate, Tavo Patishta Tam. Pick up the second one. Some water on this one. Om Adya Amukha Gotra Se, Kaship Gotra Se, Amukha Preta, Ishwar Nam Se, Dwadesha Panta Nimito, Vishnu Devta Va Esata Pind, Maya Dhyate Tava Patishta Tam. Pick up the third one. One kus there, you left one kus behind. Put some water. Om Adya Amukha Gotra Se, Kaship Gotra Se, Amukha Preta, Ishwar Nam Se, Cha, Twal, Kesa Nimika, Esata Pinda, Maya Dhyate, Tavo, Patishta, Tama. Om Adya Amukha Gotra Se, Amukha Preta, Kaship Gotra Se, Visharantu, Bhutanama, Rudra Devta, Va Esata Pinda, Maya Dhyate, Tavo, Patishta, Tama. Sprinkle water on all of them. Sprinkle water on all of them. Son, take this and put it underneath them. So, thanks. Just push it under there, you see. Under the flowers. No shaking.
Thank you, Pandiji. Thank you, Pandiji. As we said earlier, we want to use this moment to celebrate the life of Ishu Papa, and we want to get speakers that celebrate that and can share some stories. Ishu Papa, as everyone knows, was fantastic with children. Children were lucky to be in his presence, and he had the time and patience for them, and especially his grandchildren. And I'd like to call upon Rahul to come and say a few words.
Like Darren Kaka said, it's weird not seeing Ajay here speaking for everyone, because he was probably by far the best MC I've ever seen. Just say it off the top, talk, and just his ability to just inspire everyone with his speech and his vocals was amazing. So the strong, confident, brilliant soul that blessed every single living conscious entity that he encountered. He always put himself before, he always put everyone before himself. He was never ever a selfish soul. He was my second father, a father to many, a mentor, a brother, and a friend. And Aja, I know your physical self isn't here, but I can feel your spirit here, with me and with everyone here. I will always love you, and I will always carry that legacy. So, to Aja, from the rest of the family, and from your eldest grandson, we love you a lot, and we'll always love you, Aja.
Thank you, Rahul. Thank you. As everyone knows, Ishu Papa was, without a doubt, an absolute stone and rock in the family, and he really had unconditional, unwavering support and backing for his children. Really a wonderful father. And I'd now like to call upon two of his sons who he was very proud of. He was proud of all his children, all his grandchildren. I'd like to call Rohan and Camille to come forward.
Prem Namaste everyone. I left home today without my father's hat because he never leaves home without it. So Dad, I have your hat with me. You know, my dad had that funny side to him. If he was asked, what's your name, he'll say ID, and his response will be to people because you cannot vote without it. He was full of wit, he was very sharp, very intelligent. Other than being a super dad, a super husband, a super grandfather, he was a best friend, a confidant, a rock, an advisor, a soulmate. On a personal level, him and I will have endless discussions about, we'll be co-analysts on sport, on news, on everyday life, and then we'll lose sight of the time and be oblivious to when we're on the phone calls or in person. And that's what I'm going to miss most about me and my dad. He touched everyone in so many ways. I mean, even if he's not involved in a conversation, people will hear about him through other people, as if he was part of that conversation. And that's what made him such a special person. I've had phone calls from people that don't even know him, but since they know that he's my father, they knew straight away the type of person he was from the previous conversations that we've had together. We will dearly miss you, Dad. Words cannot express this, how much it means to us that you are gone. You're not gone forever, you will always be in our heart. We will always love you and cherish you with every breath that we take. You leave a legacy that we will continue to keep alive, and you will never die. And we'll continue to make you proud, because that's what you pride yourself on. And having those deep sense of family values, but you never protected yourself from loving everybody else the same way. There are no goodbyes, Dad, because we don't die, we transform. In the next dimension, when our souls are free, we will meet again. I love you with all my heart, and I'll cherish you forever. May your soul rest in peace. We'll meet again.
Thanks, Ro. Come in. Before we, there are messages also from around the world, and I'd like to call Shalini Poet to actually read a message from family and relatives in London.
Shantamavi and family. This message is from Surendra and Kash in London, and at the moment they are praying for Ishwar, and this is what Surendra has to say. For my uncle, I have so many memories of the times we spent together, and even though you're no longer here, I will cherish them forever. I miss your laughter so much and the mischief of your smile. When I feel the sadness welling up, I'll remember it a while. For though you are no longer here, you'll never be truly gone. So long as I have these memories, your spirit will carry on. So until I see your smile again, I'll hold you in my heart and in my mind, a shining example, my uncle, of the best of humankind.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, Rohan mentioned in his speech that there were analysts on sport. Ishwar loved his sport. In particular, he loved his cricket. And, you know, it was great to watch, and he loved India. And it was great to watch India play so well yesterday and actually beat England. He would have been watching somewhere. That's how he loved cricket. I'd like to now call upon someone who was the apple of his eye, also, like all his children, extremely, extremely proud. Bhavna, if I can ask you to come.
I get to sit. I'll stand, but actually I prefer to stand. Hope you can all hear me. One thing I inherited from my dad was the ability to also speak at events and functions. Maybe not as eloquent as him, but that is something I'm so proud to say that I did get from him. This is off the cuff. It is not a speech about what my dad was like, the person he is, because we've heard enough about that, and I think we all know it anyway. I don't have to speak about the type of person he was. The thing is, I was the person that spent the most time with my father over this last 3.5 weeks. I saw him every single day, twice a day in hospital. I think, you know, the reason for me speaking as well is that so many people were just flabbergasted when they heard that dad died, and they were like, how is it that this fit gentleman, you know, there was not a thing wrong with him, and next thing they hear, he has passed away. Lots of people don't know what happened, what went on over the last 3 weeks. So it's just a bit of an account of what my last 3 weeks with my dad was like. You know, it was just suddenly that Daddy fell ill. In 2017, Dad was diagnosed with pulmonary fibrosis. It's an irreversible lung condition. We always knew, you know, there would be a poor outcome at some time. We were never naive to that fact. But, you know, the thing is, he was told that within 2 years, given morbid figures, within 2 years something can happen. You know, he may need home oxygen, all those things. But look, going on to almost 5 years since his diagnosis, my father had that strength and tenacity to withstand even a diagnosis such as that, with poor prognoses such as that. He was so strong, he was so fit. Right up until just before he got admitted, he walked around the estate and, you know, totally fine. A little bit breathless, but he was so well before that. And that was just testament to the tenacity that my dad had and the strength and motivation to carry on. He lived for his children, he lived for his grandchildren, and he lived for his wife. And he did everything in his power to give us everything that we needed. And we strive to always make him proud, and we will continue to do so. The last 3 weeks, my morning started at 7 with my dad. Our routine was, I went to him in the ward, I would speak to him I would check what did he eat, treating him like a child. How much did you eat the night before? I would check his containers. Mommy made sure every night to make something for Dad. Sharon Barbie would drop it off. He would get, because he missed his wife's cooking while he was in hospital. We would start with a talk of what he did the night before. How did it go? Did he sleep? Did he listen to the news in the morning? It would then go on with me giving him something to drink, rubbing holy ashes on his back that one of his now close friends, who's also a religious figure, took the time to do a prayer, get holy ashes, come to the hospital, delivered for me to do. So every morning that was our routine. I checked his body, I rubbed his ashes, he got some Vaseline on his lips because of the mask he was wearing for so long. We had a chat, I went to work, and I came back in the evening again. We went through his day again, and that was how every day was with my dad. And then it was an update to my family as well every morning. They waited for it. They waited on the group chat every single morning. I had to send an update. Dad is like this, Dad is like that, he's doing well, he's a little bit tired, he's having his physio. That was how we did it every single day. The thing is, when Dad, on Friday, when he took a bit of a turn for the worst, and he had to have a heavier mask put on where he couldn't even really talk that much. I saw him in the morning, and I told him that I was due for a scan. I was due for a scan that afternoon, and I would see him later. He was slightly sedated with this heavy mask, but when I came back to see him in the evening, despite all of that, he gestured to my tummy. He asked me, and I could just barely make out, how did it all go? And then I told him. The last conversation my father had with anyone was with me, and it was about his future granddaughter. And I know that that is what he took home, that, all is well. That was the last conversation, the last thought that he had, that his granddaughter is growing healthy and well. I told him when she would be due, and by Saturday he was, unresponsive and things, but that was the last conversation we had. The last conversation he had with anyone was with me, and it was about his future granddaughter. In situations like this, it's easy to see how some people lose faith in God, wonder why life is so cruel. I think to myself, why did something like this have to happen, where my child would be robbed of one of the most doting grandparents she could ever wish for? Why my dad had to be robbed just 3 weeks to go of having his granddaughter in his life? But then I think about the type of father that he was, type of man he was, and he was very pragmatic. He would have just scoffed if I said something like that about anything else. He didn't believe in such things. He was level-headed, he was pragmatic. He would have never have thought anything like that if I had to say, it's so easy to think about life being unfair. So when I want to have thoughts like that sometimes, because believe me, I have had, I think about him and how he would not want that. My brothers, my mom was so fortunate, at least for the last week before he fell quite ill, to come in and see him when he was still quite conscious, talking to them and fine. He saw Mommy. He said, the next day he told me, he said, Mommy's looking weak. She's looking tired. Are you looking after her? I told him, I said, she's fasting for you for the last 3 weeks. She's eating veggies. She's not sleeping. And he's like, what is this fasting nonsense? What is she fasting for? He was so irritated at the fact that she was doing that. I even came home and I told her that. But that is the type of person that he was. Very practical, very level-headed. And even the days following that, every time he saw me, asked about her. He asked about how the boys were. That was how he was. He was worried every single day about me coming up and down to hospital. If I went to my preferred places, staying the South Coast, he would, as soon as I returned in the afternoon, ask me how it went. He cared about everyone else. Despite being ill himself in hospital, that's what he did. In the last week, it became very difficult for me to see my hero waver. He began to falter. I could see his strength leaving his body. As a daughter, seeing her father, her hero like that, thinking about my daughter due to come into the world, it was not easy to deal with. I think being a doctor, I have a bit of a thicker skin when it comes to seeing things like that, but it was still so difficult to deal with. But my father kept his dignity till the end, till the absolute end. That was the type of man that he was. And it was just, when I saw it, I knew he was growing tired, and it was not my dad. It was not my dad anymore. That he lost that strength and that fight, and he was always such a strong man that fought to the very end. You know, we can't win all battles, and my father won so many. You know, for everything in life, he fought many battles and he won so many, but this was just not his fight to win. I lost the first love of my life. I think a dad is a daughter's first love, and I lost that. I lost my hero, my first love. But I think, you know, if a father can love a child or a daughter in such a way like he did, you have that protective armor for the rest of your life. And I know that if ever I'm going to be feeling unworthy or sad or down about anything, I just have to think of my dad, and I will just straighten that crown straight away, knowing him and what he instilled in me. I will always remember that. They say as well that the way a father makes his daughter feel or treats his daughter sets the bar or the level for the type of person she will love for the rest of her life. Like I said, I lost the first love of my life, but I'm so grateful for the other love of my life. You know what? I have to bring him up, and I know my dad was so proud of him. But my husband was, I don't think I could have dealt with all of this for the last 3 weeks, being pregnant, almost ready to give birth in the next 3 weeks. I don't think I could have endured any of this without Sudhir. He made sure to see my dad every day in the morning, despite his busy rounds. He assisted whenever I couldn't talk to his physicians. He did everything and made sure all was going well with my father. And I would never have done it without him by my side there. And I know my father used to absolutely light up looking, waiting for him to come, and he would tell me if Sudhir hadn't come for the day. So I'm so grateful that I have had you as well during these last 3 weeks, doing everything. You know, Sudhir organized as well for mommy to come and see, for my brothers to come and see. And I'm so grateful they saw Daddy before anything happened to him, and they saw him in a way that he was still fit and talking and fine. And when I think about the type of father that I had, I know that you will be an exemplary father to our daughter as well. And I know my dad knows that. He's not here to watch over, he's watching over us, not here physically, but I know that he knew that already. And he would be so proud of us and our family, always. The 2 days before Daddy went on to the ventilator, I just had a feeling, you know what, my dad was so down. I knew I had to lift his spirits. I took photos of the nursery that's now complete. I showed it to him. I think that was the most reaction that my father could muster by that stage, where he said, "Oh, that's so lovely, wow." And he looked at, so he got a chance to see the nursery as well. My father and I were so similar in so many ways. We had a relationship that made, that many would envy for a father and a daughter. And I'm so proud to call him my dad and know that he instilled certain values in me. I got that. Oh, on my phone, please. It's just, there's a poem that I have that describes exactly how it was for my dad near the end, and it's just a little, tribute to him. If I can find it. God saw you getting tired, and a cure was not to be. So he put his arms around you and he whispered, "Come to me." With tearful eyes we watched you fade away. Although we loved you dearly, we could not make you stay. A golden heart stopped beating, hard-working hands at rest. God broke our hearts to prove to us he chose to take the best. It's lonesome here without you, we miss you more each day. Life doesn't seem the same since you have gone away. When days are sad and lonely and everything goes wrong, we seem to hear you whisper, "Cheer up and carry on." Each time we see your picture, you seem to smile and say, "Don't cry, I'm in God's hands. We'll meet again someday." Until that day, Daddy, I will always miss you. I love you, but I know that you're watching over me and you will be watching over your granddaughter and you will always be there protecting us and taking care of us. And thank you for always being my hero, the love of my life. Even though now I think I don't know what I'm going to do without you, I know you will be there to guide us where I will manage, and you will always be watching over us.
Thank you, Bobs. Very well spoken. As you said, just like your dad, very eloquent. And you gave us a glimpse of the relationship that you and your dad had, which we all knew was very, very strong, as it was with all his children and grandchildren. And even though, you know, he won't be there physically for the birth of your daughter, the qualities that he's instilled in all of you, in Shikar, Camille, Rohan, and Sudhir has spent a lot of time with him as well. His spirit will be there as they all help as she grows up. So thanks again, Bob. Also, you know, we speak about how grateful that all of you were and all of we were to actually have someone like Ishwar in our lives. I think over the last 3 weeks when he was in hospital, he would have been very, very grateful to have you and Sudhir at hospital, seeing him daily, twice a day, and also, as you said, Shikar, Camille, and Chandapur got to see him as well beforehand. Chandapur, to you, deepest condolences. We all know, having grown up in your presence and in Ishwar's presence, how strong a relationship the two of you had. This must be terribly hard for you, but you know, the solace that you will get is what he left behind and the strength of the family that you guys have. And Chandapur, I'd like to ask you if you want to say anything. Thank you.
As I stand here with a heavy heart, I lost the best human being, my husband, Ishwar Singh. He was a mentor. He was an inspiration to me. He treated me like a queen. I always say, all young ladies must have a husband like mine. He gave me everything of the best. As I stand here, I'm going to celebrate and I'm going to build up his legacy with my children, my grandchildren, my daughter-in-law, my family. And I know he always loved his children. He treated them like no one but like any other children. But he warmed the world with love and care with all the other children and people that he has taught and made them where they are today. My dear husband, you are my mentor, you are my inspiration. I love you, and I love you, and I love you. I am going to celebrate, and I'm going to build our legacy for you to be proud. Dad, go well, Dad, but you're going to remain in my heart. You're going to remain in my heart. You're going to remain. No, Dad, but you cannot leave us. I love you, Dad. Your children, your grandchildren, they all love you. Your family and friends. Dad, wherever you go, you'll be well looked after because I am going to be with you not very long ago, but I want to stay with my children too and look after and take your job. Okay. Please, Dad, we are going to celebrate your legacy. We are going to celebrate your legacy with a lot of love and care. Dad, go well. I'm not going to say goodbye. You are in my heart, and you are in my heart forever. I love you. I love you. And please, forgive me. Whatever, anything has been done, but it is all in wish of God. Please, Dad, go well. Rest. You needed rest. For 79 and a half, you worked very hard, Dad. You worked hard to bring up lovely family. Oh, Dad, go safely. Go safely. You are in our heart. You are in our heart. You're my hero, Dad. You're my hero, Dad. You're my hero, Dad.
Thank you, Shanapa. We know it's very, very difficult for you. Thank you. And now I'd like to call Shikar to say some words.
Thank you, Mom. I don't understand how you had the strength to do something like that, but you've summed it up in an excellent way. You know, over the last few weeks, as a big son, you tend to try and prepare yourself for this sort of thing. How you're going to do it, what you're going to do it, because you automatically become the elder in the family. And nothing can really prepare you for this. But when you have a role model like my dad, who showed me the right ways of being a gentleman and the correct ways of being friends to all, you somehow take a bit of comfort in carrying on his legacy in what he's done. Nothing can prepare you for this. And in the last couple of weeks, when he was in hospital, I used to spend most of the morning looking at his phone to see whether he was online. And the moment he's online, I used to FaceTime him immediately, just so that I can get a glimpse and talk to him. Message him 50 times in a day, 60 times, just to get one thumbs up or a prayer sign from him, which took me through for the balance of the day after that. But as the days went on, you could see he was tiresome, and I experienced it. He didn't want to speak much, and that's what the sort of man he was. He did not want to show that he was in that situation whereby he was losing the will to fight. He took it to the last bit. On Sunday, we had some decisions to make, and when I thought about it, I remember the fact that he always told me that if anything happens, he needs to go on his own strength, and that's what he actually did. He did not want to be suffering any further. He pulled it out at the last minute. That's sort of what the guy he was. He was somebody that really, really, really put everybody and everything else in front of him, and right down to pets, which every time if he had a pet, the pet loved him to bits. I've got fond memories of all those. It's going to be hard filling shoes for Dad, to fill his shoes. But I do have all his strength within me, and I must thank him for all the things that he's done. You're going to be sorely missed, Dad. You've touched so many lives and so many hearts, and all I'm saying is that there is a massive amount of things that we could have done together, but I'm cherishing fond memories. I'm cherishing fond memories about all this. I want to thank, I can't really put words to who I want to thank, but I want to thank everybody from the bottom of my heart for the days and days and days of support you don't actually ever have to phone anybody and tell them anything. The phone rings non-stop, the messages come non-stop. People that have met him once, it was like he just touched their hearts. So that's what the character of the guy that he was. A day won't go by if you don't phone him by 12 o'clock, he'll ask you what happened. That's how he was. If you went out for the day and you came back, he'll ask you, why didn't you put a jacket on? Where's your cap? Everything for him was like that. I thank you, Dad, for all that you've done. And as Mum said, which I'm very proud of how, the words that she said as well, that we're going to celebrate your life. And we're going to hold you clear to heart, and we're going to continue the enjoyment that you have spread to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheikh. Thank you, Ishwar. At this stage, we're coming to the end of today's proceedings. At this stage, I'd like to open the floor to anyone else who may want to say anything to Ishwar. If there's no final speakers, before I call Panditji back up, I'd like to, on behalf of Shantapur and the entire family, extend a heartfelt, sincere thank you to everyone. Not only for your attendance today, whether it's virtual or your physical attendance today, but all the support and the messages, as Shikar has mentioned, that the family has been receiving over the last 3 weeks. At times like this, you really see family and friends pull together, and that's what was shown to Shantapur and the family. So, deepest thank yous to all of you. And I'll call Panditji.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to ask all of you all to stand and go into prayer hands. Mom, you can be seated. You can be seated. Bhavna, you can be seated too. Others can stand. Let's all put our into prayer hands and just pray for this Atma to get moksha. Bhagavan says in the Bhagavad Gita, he says that we must not grieve. We must pray for the Atma. So let's all pray that this Atma gets moksha. Om Tvama Adi Deva Purusha Purana Swamma Swaya Vishwasye Param Nidhanam Vedasi Vidyam Cha Param Cha Dhama Tvaya Tantam Vishwam Nanana Ta Rupa. We saying, O Bhagwan, thou art the primal God, thou art the final resting place of the universe, thou art the knower, thou art the knowledge, and thou art the supreme abode. Your form is infinite. Om Vahasansi Jirnami Yata Vihaye Navani Grihanati Nalo Aparani Yata Sharirani Vihaye Jiranana Naya Ani Sanayati Navani Dehi. Just as a person is casting out his worn-out garments and putting on new ones, the soul is casting off its worn-out body and it's going to enter a new one. Om Najayate Mritayate Vaha Kadha China Nayam Bhutava Abha Vitavana Buya Ajo Nityaha Tadavasavato Ayam Purano Nahanaya Te Hanaya Mani Sharira. The soul is never born, there is no end, and there is no beginning. Birth, death, changes will never affect this Atma. Om Nainam Chindati Sahasrani Nainam Daiti Pavaka Nahat Enam Tidha Yama Ayata Yama Tayapo Na Soshayati Maruta. Bhagwan is saying to us, that there is no weapon that can cut this Atma. Nor can it be burnt by fire, nor can it be wet by water, nor can it be dried by wind. Death is simply a change of the body for the soul. Everyone that is born must die, and everyone that dies will be born again. We must not grieve, we must pray for the soul to be inevitable. According to the Yajurveda, there is no other path for the attainment of salvation but prayer itself. The Supreme Absolute Being, who is full of splendor, like the sun, untainted by the darkness of ignorance. By knowing God alone, one can conquer death and attain eternal bliss. We saying to Bhagavan, He Paramatma, after death, may all thy components of thy body be merged into the 5 elements of this earth, and may thou, according to the deeds performed here, dwell in a body worthy of such merit. We also saying to God, you are the dispenser of justice. You deal with everyone according to the deeds. Peace be unto the soul of this body. Thou art the creator, thou art the destroyer, and thou art the sustainer of the universe. May thou bestow a worthy abode for this Atma. We also appeal to God to send this soul into this world again to perform noble deeds. Remember, the soul is not made up of the 5 elements and does not perish. The body will be reduced to ashes. Almighty Om, remembering also thy past deeds, it is through these deeds that our salvation is determined. Om Asatoma Satkamya Tamsoma Jyotirgamya Mitroma Amritam Gamya. All material links perish with the death of the body. It is only our dharma that is our real friend, which even after death remains with the soul. Dharma should not perish. If it does, it will bring destruction. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Maha Kaschit Dukha Bhagavata. Om Purnamidha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamaduchyate Purnasya Purnamadhai Purnameva Vashishyate. Bhagwan is giving us a message in this mantra. He says, that is full. This is full. The full comes out of the full. Taking the full from the full itself remains. Om Shanti Shanti Shantira Om. Let's all of us together, let's take Bhagwan's name. Om Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram 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 Om. One's name. Om Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram 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 Om. Om रघुपति राघव राजा राम, पतित पावन सीताराम, पतित पावन सीताराम। जय रघुनंदन जय घनश्याम, पतित पावन सीताराम। वीर परे जब भक्त पुकारे, दूर करो प्रभु दुख हमारे। दशरथ की घर जन्म राम, पतित पावन सीताराम। विश्वामित्र मुनिवर आए, दशरथ भूसे वचन सुनाए। संग में वेग लक्ष्मण हे राम, पतित पावन सीताराम। जनकपुरी रघुनंदन आए, नगर निवास दर्शन पाए। सीता के मन भय राम, पतित पावन सीताराम। रघुनंदन ने धनुष चलाया, सब राजों के मन गताया। सीता ने वर पाया राम, पतित पावन सीताराम। परशुराम क्रोधित हो आया, दुष्ट भूप मन में परछाए। जानक रे ने किया प्रणाम, पतित पावन सीताराम। बोलो लखन सुनो मुनि ज्ञानी, संत नहीं होते अभिमानी। मितहि वाणी बोले राम, पतित पावन सीताराम। लक्ष्मण वचन ध्यान मत दीजो, जो कुछ धन दास को दीजो। धनुष तुराए ये हो राम, पतित पावन सीताराम। लेकर के यही धनुष चला, अपने शक्ति मुझे दिखा लायो। चोट चाप चलाए राम, पतित पावन सीताराम। हो ये उर्मिला लखन की नारी, दूती कीर्ति रिपु चुरन प्यारी। हो ये मंदवी भरत की वाम, पतित पावन सीताराम। अवधपुरी रघुनंदन आए, घर घर नारी मंगल गाए। बड़ा वर्ष दिखाए राम, पतित पावन सीताराम। गुरु वशिष्ठ से आज्ञा लीनी, राज तिलक तैयारी किन्नी। कल को होंगे राजा राम, पतित पावन सीताराम। कुटिल मंत्रा ने आई, ने बात सुनाई। दे दो मेरी दो वरदान, पतित पावन सीताराम। मेरी विनती तुम सुनो लीजो, भरत पुत्र को गद्दी दीजो। होत प्रात वन भेजो राम, पतित पावन सीताराम। धरनी गिरी भूप तत्काल, लगा दिल में शूल विशाल। तब सुमंता बुला वे राम, पतित पावन सीताराम। राम पिता को शीश नवाई, मुख से वचन कहा नहीं जाए। कहे वचन सुनयो राम, पतित पावन सीताराम। राजा के तुम प्राणो प्यारे, इनके दुख हरोगे सारे। अब तुम वन में जाओ राम, पतित पावन सीता राम। वन में 14 वर्ष बितायो, रघुकुल रीति नीति अपना ओ। आगे इच्छा तुम्हारी राम, पतित पावन सीता राम। सुनत वचन राघव हर्षाए, माता जी को मंदिर आया, चरण कमल में किया प्रणाम। पतित पावन सीता राम। माता जी के मृत्यु वन जो 14 वर्ष बाद फिर आओ, चरण कमल देखो शुभ नाम। पतित पावन सीता राम। सुनी शुल शाम जब ये मानी, वो पर गिरी कौशल्या रानी। धीरज मंद रहे श्री राम, पतित पावन सीता राम। समाचार सुनी लक्ष्मण आए, धनुष बाण संग परम सुहाए। बोल संग चलूंगा श्री राम, पतित पावन सीता राम। सीता जी जब ये सुने पाई, रंग महल से नीचे आई, कौशल्या को किया प्रणाम। पतित पावन सीता राम। वन मेरी चूक क्षमा कर दीजो, वन जान के आज्ञा दीजो। सीता को समझाते राम, पतित पावन सीता राम। मेरी सीख सिया सुन ली जो, सास ससुर की सेवा की जो। मुझको भी होगा विश्राम, पतित पावन सीता राम। श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम, श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम। श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम, श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम। ओम यथा राजा विश्वतो, यथा वरोदनं देवा, यत्यामूल्यहन तीरापा, तत्रा मम मिदं गिरि। ओम प्रभु तेरे द्वारे आया है आत्मा, प्रभु तेरे द्वारे आया है आत्मा। शांति दीजिए हे परमात्मा, शांति दीजिए हे परमात्मा। प्रभु तेरे द्वारे आया है आत्मा, शांति दीजिए हे परमात्मा। प्रभु तेरे द्वारे आया है आत्मा, शांति दीजिए हे परमात्मा। शांति दीजिए हे परमात्मा। राम नाम सत्य है, राम नाम सत्य है, राम नाम सत्य है, राम नाम सत्य है।
Go peacefully, please. God protect him, take care of him. Take care of him, take care of him. What a man was. What a gentleman, oh God, please take him. Take care of him, take care of him. Take care of him, please take care. Take care of him, please take care. Take care.
Come on, go to water.
dedicated. I'm so dedicated.